Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time, as we say every single week, typically on Thursdays. I know today we're having this on a Wednesday, which is rare, but it's super important for us to do this now, number one, because you have to walk away with new strategies and nuggets, right, to change and better your business for the balance of 2025. Also, our expo is around the corner. So we are literally preparing 24/7 now. It's crunch time, just a couple weeks away. So, number one, I hope you RSVP'd and you are coming to the annual Agent Expo in South Florida. If not, that's okay too, because we will have a post expo webinar and we'll cover most of the highlights. Obviously, it's better to be there live in person on the beach at our resort, which is right on the sand, literally. But if not, like I said, we'll cover the highlights and the bullets from each presentation so you can still have some of these nuggets and use some of the new product strategies. So no problems there. Let's focus on today. So we have, like I said, a great carrier, great product portfolio, something that you probably have never seen or heard about before. I know some of you have, most of you have not. We have an arrangement with Peterson's, with Lloyd's, okay, to offer our agents their products. And what's very, very unique here is, as you know, we have over 24,000 agents now across the country, in literally just about every city in the U.S. And we all know about the traditional carriers, especially on the brokerage side. And yes, we have the best of the best when it comes to CI, DI, everything in the life space, annuity space. And to have all bases covered, right, you need to also be able to offer some of these niche products and strategies that you weren't able to offer before, right? Unless you were working with Lloyd's in the past or you partnered up with another agent. So, which means typically you'd have to split the commission. So today's presentation, number one, we're featuring our regional VP from Lloyd's Peterson's and our product specialist who's going to dive into each product and share some great case studies and strategies. So you can literally start to write down, hey, I have a guy, I have a girl, I have a business owner, I have a college, okay, because I'm going to share a case study that actually we went through with one of our agents. So by the time we are done, you will have awesome ideas. Just make sure to write down notes. We also have, and I just want to share this quickly, the Q&A pane on GoToWebinar software. Okay, so expand that Q&A pane and fire away with questions, comments, good, bad, and different. We want to make sure that you have every question answered. And number two, that you critique us. If you want to see something new, different, whatever, we build these at the end of the day for you. Okay, so please jump in and share. And if we don't get to all the questions, we will get back to you as soon as we hang up on today's presentation. But we will try to answer every single one that comes in real time. So let's jump into the first slide here. What I also want to say real fast is right before 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to wrap up and we're going to have our question of the day. And as always, the question has to do with our presentation that we're going over today. So pay attention. And if you answer first and correctly, you walk away with an Apple iWatch and a IUL prospecting book. We'll announce your name and you are a winner as long as you're an active Levinson agent. Okay, number one. If you're not, just call us after. We'll get you up and running with at least one company. There's no charge, obviously. And then as soon as you write your first piece of business, hopefully it's with Lloyd's, and then you get your incentive, your Apple iWatch. All right, let's go to the first slide here. What I also want to talk about is what's first and foremost, most important, number one in our eyes, is our agents, right? We don't sell on a retail level, and I say this every week, but it should be illegal. It's a conflict of interest. How can we help our agents and service you and your clients and applications, but we're also fishing in the same pond outside of the back door, right? Selling on a retail level doesn't work, doesn't mix. So we are 100% wholesale, meaning you are our customer, period. So when we see these comments and reviews and testimonials come in on our Facebook page, our Google reviews page, it means the world to us. So please keep sharing. Please keep commenting on our posts, like and follow our pages. And we share these comments with the entire team, which now we're in 4 states. So this goes throughout the office with our extended family, our employees, and it moves the needle internally. So keep doing this. Lynn, Austin, Kent, thank you so much for sharing. Love to see this. Let's go to the next slide here. What I want to speak about quickly is what is around the corner for us, which is our annual expo. Super excited. April 11th, all day on Friday. And if you're coming from out of town, so let's say north of Orlando or Tampa, anywhere outside of South and Central Florida, then you are welcome to our agent dinner the night before. And then, of course, Friday all day is our expo. So here's what's awesome. Number one, we are focused on life and annuities this year, 100%. We have 11 core companies. Number two, our keynote speaker lineup is insane, the best ever. Okay, and I'm going to mention this quickly. So I have to put my agent hat on, right? When we're designing this, we're laying out the agenda. I have to say, okay, I'm Bill Evanson. I'm an agent in the 17th row, right? And what would I love to see? What am I going to walk away with that's going to make my business boom and have the best year ever? Okay, so number one, mentally, my head has to be on right. Not just today on Friday, but every single day throughout the balance of the year and into 2026. So it starts with you mentally, internally, physically. You got to be in the right game. Your head has to be in the right spot every single day. So we start with Mike Savage, who was Tony Robbins' right-hand man for over 20 years. So he's going to open up with me in the morning. Just under that, we have Coach Charles Samuel. He is the creator of the Annuity Close, the 60-second napkin presentation. He's awesome. So he's going to speak for just under an hour. And then we have top right, Mary Reed. So she focuses on getting the monster cases in the door. Okay. She shares some great case studies. She's a 3-time best-selling author when it comes to distribution solutions. And here's what's so neat about this. So if you have a guy, you have a girl, right? Let's say it's a big business owner, whatever, right? And maybe it's a little over your head, right? Maybe you have the great relationship with Mary or Susie or Bobby or Kenny, but you don't know enough to be dangerous when it comes to tax saving strategies or these distribution solutions ideas. Okay, she'll come in with you and literally make the sale for you on a Zoom call, on a webinar, or depending on the case size, face to face. And here's, in my opinion, icing on the cake, you get to keep the majority of the commission. Okay, typically it's about an 80-20 split, depending on the case, but these are monster cases on the average, at least $100,000 of annual premium and up. Okay, so again, I'm an agent out there from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, right? This is where I want to be April 11th because these are ideas I can use to change my year, period. Okay, and that's on top of our carrier VPs and SVPs that are coming from all over the country. Okay, so again, you make sure that you are there on April 11th on the sand at our Hilton Beachfront Resort. Let's keep moving forward. What I want to do next is talk about our newsletter. We have so many things changing. In fact, I just heard this morning American National, right, is going to be focused only on annuities now moving forward. Okay, so that's a big deal. We just got that memo. We're going to be sending that out. But again, you need to know what's hot, what's not. What are the different Lloyd's products that you can offer, right? You need a niche product for disability, right? Maybe for travel into the U.S., outside of the U.S., where most carriers kind of look the other way. Well, now you have a one-stop shop. How do you keep your finger on the pulse with all of the moving parts in the brokerage industry? And this is the way to do that. You just click, image expands, boom, there's your info, pick up the phone, hopefully make a sale. The rest is history. Let's keep moving forward. This newsletter should be in your inbox, by the way, last night. Every other week, we send those out. Incentives, cash prizes, giveaways. We all love to hear about this stuff. And right now it's March Madness. very simple. March Madness incentive we just launched, and we'll go to the third bracket. Right in place at least 5 applications. This could be life, annuity, critical illness, Lloyd's products, doesn't matter. Okay. And as soon as they place in force active, you get $300 cash plus 10 orphan leads on us. Okay. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, this looks and sounds great, but right, how much of an incentive could this really be, right? Are these orphan leads any good? Well, what I want you to do is check out our agent Grant that was on the last podcast. Look at his Google review and his testimonial and see what he wrote and placed with 2 orphan leads. It was over 160,000 of annual premium. Okay, so again, these orphan leads typically are great, and this is a good way to experience a free batch. Also, I just want to say while we're talking about the orphans, very easy if you're an agent with us today, and I know most of you are, very easily, right? Place at least $10,000 of annual premium, and you get a free batch of orphan leads. It's that simple. That's in 12 months. So that's not a huge number, okay? Very attainable, and I know most of you are doing this now, but make sure you test out our free orphan leads. They're awesome, and you'll see Grant's testimonial, so proof in the pudding. Okay, let's go to our final slide here. I want to introduce our 2 speakers of today. So we have Keith joining us. He's our product specialist when it comes to Lloyd's. And then we also have Lori joining us. She is our regional sales VP with Peterson Lloyd's. I'm very, very happy that they are joining us. And I just want to say thank you again to Keith and Lori. I think Keith is going to start us off here. Keith, are you there?
Hey, Bill. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Yep, I see your slides.
There we go. There we go. Hey, Bill, thanks a lot. I appreciate the invite. And thank you, everybody that's tuned in for this. Hopefully you come away with something to find some extra commission dollars, as Bill mentioned. And I think you will, because really everything that Lloyd's does is kind of geared at what nobody else will do. And that's what's kind of exciting about it. I mean, how exciting is insurance, right? I don't know, but it's not like being a crop duster or a ski instructor. But I think that of insurance, Lloyd's is probably some of the most exciting stuff that I have found, and that's really what interests me about Lloyd's. Lori, if you want to make the change slide. Thank you, Lori. Okay, so here's the agenda that we're going to kind of go over. What is Lloyd's? We're going to make an introduction to Lloyd's of London. Some of you may be familiar with Lloyd's of London. Many people have heard of Lloyd's of London, but really don't get what it is, what it's about. And then Peterson International, who they are. They're a cover holder, and that's a weird phrase, and I'll get into explain what that is. And then we're going to go over a couple of different products. One of them is Failure to Survive. What a great name. It's kind of like life insurance, but it's not called life insurance. It's Failure to Survive. And we'll do some case studies. Then we'll hit some accidental death and high limit DI and just DI business products and DI case studies and a Q&A at the end. So that just kind of gives you an overview on what we're going to do. With the introduction of Lloyd's, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, a little history. I like history, and this is really the inception of the insurance business. So Lori, you want to change the slide? So, everybody thinks, oh, geez, insurance companies, they're all older, 80, 90, 100, 125 years old. Well, when we talk about Lloyd's of London, we're talking about 350 years. Okay, so this is the inception of the insurance industry as we know it today. They're really not an insurance company. They were called a reciprocal exchange. And what that means is that there are syndicates made up, that multiple syndicates make up, they split the risk within syndicates. And a syndicate is made up of investors. People who invest in the syndicate could be other insurance companies. They may be large Fortune 500 companies. There's even personal and private investors. Typically, high net worth people invest in syndicates, and they form a syndicate, and then the syndicate they hire underwriters, and we'll get into that in order to underwrite the risk and insure the risk. So all this started in a coffee house owned by a gentleman named Edward Lloyd. It was on Tower Street in London, England. And back in 1688, a lot of ships' captains and pursers, they would gather at the Lloyd's Coffee House and share their stories and talk about, what a bad wreck they had or how bad the seas were. And geez, they lost this cargo and it cost them so much money. Well, what they decided to do is to form contracts to share the risk. So no one person would bear the entire brunt of his loss. And that was the first reciprocal exchange. And that was done in 1688, where was the very essence and the very beginning of the insurance industry as we know it today. And here's just a picture depicting the Lloyd's Coffee House as it might have looked in 1688, a long time ago. Laurie, you want to change the slide? So they started with insuring, as I mentioned, ships, the ship itself, the cargo, basically any risk that went on with the ship, because being on a ship at sea in the Atlantic back then was of great risk and peril, and you may lose your cargo, you may lose your ship and your cargo, a lot of lives, etc. And this was happening all too frequently. Shipping was happening all over the world. It was commonplace, and it turned the world's economy. Laura, you want to continue? Today, Lloyd's is still very heavily involved in shipping and mitigating the risk of shipping. Here's a modern day cargo ship, and as you can imagine, the amount of money that sits in all those containers on that ship, the cost of that ship, the amount of money that sits in those containers, that is an incredible amount at risk if that thing were to go down. So Lloyd's is very involved with this still to this day, 350 years later. Next slide, Lori. This is a great slide. If you take a look here you'll see there's basically 4 pages here. Well, 2 pages that are cut in half. At the top, right underneath of WF and Company, you'll notice Titanic, okay? This is actually the Lloyd's underwriters risk assessment sheet of the Titanic. The Titanic was insured for £1 million. It sank on April 14th, 1912. And if you look closely right underneath of that circle, you can see that this was at 9:30 a.m., April 2nd, 1912, just basically 12 days before the Titanic went down. As you look further down this page, you'll see the amount of risk that each underwriter assumed, and it's kind of unusual here. This is where the essence of the word underwriter came from. There's your risk at the top, the Titanic. The value of the risk is £1 million. And then the underwriters are the people who signed underneath of that risk. And that's so, since it was under the risk and they were the writer of the risk, they became known as underwriters. Plain and simple. We still use that term today. So you see the top one right there is 75,000 pounds. The next one is 75,000 pounds, then 50,000 pounds. But as you go down through the whole list, you get down towards the end, you've got 2,000 pounds, 40,000 pounds, 31,000 pounds. So everybody had a different amount of risk that they assumed with the Titanic, and the same still holds true today with the way it works with syndicates. So this was really a syndicate job right here, over 100 years ago, 113 years ago. So I just kind of think this is a really cool slide. This is where it all began, and this was one of the first huge payouts that they had, a very famous payout anyhow. Laura, you want to change the slide? This is the home office of Lloyd's. This mentions on the left-hand side, 1688 first cargo ship insured from Edward Lloyd's Coffee House. There's your strengths of Lloyd's of London, Standard & Poor's, AA minus, Fitch is AA minus, and AM Best is single A plus. And you've got 3 different layers of security within the Lloyd's family. You've got your syndicate assets, then there are members of Lloyd's, it's their funds, and then there's the central fund of Lloyd's. The middle picture here is the home office, the current home office of Lloyd's. It's kind of an unusual building. It really looks kind of like futuristic. All of the vertical piping you see on the left, that's like all the air conditioning and heating duct. And then the round things are all the elevators. And they take these and they put them outside the building. That way, in case anything goes wrong with the elevator or the air conditioner, it doesn't disrupt the business that's going on, the financial business that's going on inside that building, because it's enormous. It's enormous. If you look on the top right-hand side, that's the floor of Lloyd's. And actually the clock that's there is the original clock from the Lloyd's Coffee House. And then underneath of that, you'll see there's the underwriter's desk. Right in the middle of that picture, yeah, the circled woman there, she's making a pitch to the underwriters about some risk and setting up a deal with the syndicates. I guess she's an underwriter dealing with the syndicates to assume some of this risk, that whatever she is that she wants to insure. Lori? So Lloyd's of London, like I mentioned, is in London. We've got all these different syndicates. How do they bring that to market, though, right? So they need somebody on the outside. There is no Lloyd's of London, it's not Lloyd's of Atlanta. It's not Lloyd's of Chicago or Lloyd's of New York. It's Lloyd's of London. So what they do is they form a relationship in different parts of the world. Here in the United States, in the life and disability arena, the largest is Peterson International. Peterson International was founded 65 years ago. They are what is known as a cover holder for Lloyd's. Strange name. What is a cover holder? I get that question a lot. You might think of a cover holder as a third-party administrator, a TPA. They do the underwriting. They issue policies all on behalf of Lloyd's of London. They negotiate with the syndicates of Lloyd's of London. They pay commissions to the agents. They handle basically all the administrative work on behalf of Lloyd's of London here stateside. It's a family business, actually. They have 55 employees, and they handle the premium collection, staffing, binding authority. They handle basically soup to nuts administratively everything that Lloyd's of London needs them to do here in the States. They also distribute Lloyd's of London products to people like Bill, who has agents and agents. So they handle all of the distribution, handle all of the enforced policies, and they're a great team that handles this. They really have a great team at Peterson. Next slide, Lori. So I wanted to start with failure to survive. As I mentioned earlier, I love this name. It's not life insurance, it's failure to survive insurance, okay? So next slide, Lori. So what is failure to survive and how do we use it? This product is designed, and I am certain that everybody on this call probably has seen or run into or will run into a need for this particular product. If you sell life insurance, that is, and I think you probably do. So just to kind of give you an idea on what this product is about. So It's short-term life insurance. It's sold in a ART, a 1-year renewable policy, 3 years or 5 years, and sometimes 2 years. So 1, 2, 3, or 5. It's perfect for when you need coverage quickly. And what I mean by that is you may be close to closing a loan, and the lender, as an example, may be requiring you to have life insurance for them in case something happens. Maybe it's a large loan. Maybe you're buying a law firm or a dental practice or something along those lines. So the lenders often require insurance in place, and you may be a week away from your close and you still are in underwriting your term company, and they haven't gotten it done yet, and they're still trying to get APSs, and this is going to hold up the entire close of your loan and purchase of your next business. Bam, FTS, failure to survive, steps in. When you need it quickly, it can be there quickly. You call Peterson, call Bill. He'll contact Peterson, give the deadline. We'll get you coverage in the meantime, so you can make that closing. The insurable, when you have insurable interests that need to remain confidential, that's kind of an unusual thing, but sometimes you need to have life insurance on somebody and they may not know about it. Okay, it could be a key person. That kind of goes against the grain of traditional insurance, but you may have a key person, and you may have to have $1 million worth of coverage on them, whatever the case may be. It's a little unusual, but it does happen. The proposed insured is temporarily possibly out of the country. Maybe he's in a war-torn area. He needs to have coverage because the company he works for, they're a general defense contractor, and maybe they're going to the Gaza Strip to rebuild Gaza. Who knows, right? We can cover them. You're not going to get coverage in a war-torn area from a traditional carrier, but Lloyd's of London will do that. They will offer coverage. Coverage when it's needed for a short period of time. I just kind of mentioned that with the loan. Sometimes underwriting is going to take a long time, and you need to have this for maybe a buy-sell agreement that has a certain day it has to start by. Or maybe there's a major health concern. Now, I want to preface that this is not used for family protection. This is only used in business environments, okay? So a buy-sell, a key person, and we'll go over that on the next slide, I believe it is. But major health concerns can be covered with failure to survive. So if you have a customer, he had a heart attack a year ago, or he had cancer a year ago, they will cover him with failure to survive, assuming that the insurable need is there, okay? And it's not family protection. And also when there's additional coverage needed that is above and beyond what the traditional underwriter will underwrite for. Lori? So some of the features: simplified issue, there's no exams, no labs. It's so easy. One-page application. Extremely liberal underwriting. It's great for impaired risks. The underwriters are able to turn these things around quickly. Today is what, Wednesday. If you needed a policy by Monday, I bet you we could probably get it done. So there's very quick underwriting. Benefits up to $50 million. $50 million on one risk. That's life insurance, $50 million. That's an incredible amount. In terms of insurance, they're up to 5 years. Here's your common uses, which I started to mention a few of them earlier. Key person insurance, contract guarantees, that would be that. I'll give you an example on a contract guarantee. A case that we had during COVID, and it was really a need for this one company. It was an exhibition company, and exhibitions were not happening during COVID because there were no large get-togethers, and this was a large exhibition company. So what they did was they put put together all the expos for trade shows, and nothing was going on, and they needed some capital infusion. This is an example how we've used this before. They needed some capital infusion, and one of the individuals that owned this company had some health concerns, and they couldn't get any life insurance for him. The money to keep his company afloat was not going to come in without life insurance. So because this guy had some health concerns, they felt that the whole company was going to fall apart. But we stepped in with Lloyd's. We got them life coverage, or I should say failure to survive. They got their capital infusion to get them through COVID, and today that exposition company is thriving. So, you know, there are circumstances out there that happen that you really need to have access to these types of things. Buy-sell agreements, I've already mentioned loan indemnification for businesses or mortgage protection loans, divorce decrees. Often, it happens quite often during a divorce that life insurance is a requirement. And often, one of the people who has to be insured is the breadwinner, who may not be insurable. So what do? Lloyd's. If they're not insurable through traditional markets, Lloyd's can handle this. And here's your list of some of your target markets: small business association loans, dental and medical practices, mergers, acquisitions, private equity, professional athletes. We do a lot of professional athletes, tons of them. You know, I don't want to name any particular teams, but a lot of these teams have large contracts on people, on their players, and they want to insure them in case something happens. So they can be reimbursed if something does happen, and they can meet their obligation in the contract. Concert and tour promotions, that happens, and also the cannabis industry. I'm sure several of you out there have had problems writing insurance on anybody in the cannabis industry. It may be legal in some states, but it's still against federal law. And if they're in the cannabis industry, they really have a difficult time buying life insurance. But we can handle that with Lloyd's. Lori? So this is just a couple of the ideas here. You know, we were talking about buy, sell, and key person, business loan protection, contract protection. These are all different places where we make our home with failure to survive. Lori? And just to go over a couple case studies on failure to survive. I know I've given you some examples already, but let's go over a couple. 59-year-old executive was diagnosed with prostate cancer, immediately underwent surgery and radiation treatment. After the treatment, his PSA score was less than 0.1. Most life insurance companies will require a 2-year waiting period for further consideration for him to buy for a buy-sell coverage. Peterson was able to offer this particular company simplified issue $1 million buy-sell policy, and they used a prostate cancer exclusion. So you're not going to get that type of exclusion from a traditional carrier. With traditional carriers, exclusions all have to be filed with the Department of Insurance. Lloyd's of London issues custom policies. They're tailored to the individual, so they can have a lot more latitude in order to make sure that this fits for the need of the person. So there's one example. Lori? Case study number 2, law firm wanted to purchase $2 million on each of the 3 key partners. Like many business executives, the partners found it difficult to basically have the time to get underway. Peterson International provided $2 million of key person failure to survive coverage on each partner without any exam or labs, just one simple page application. The underwriting approval and the policy took 5 days to complete. Where are you going to get that in a traditional market? You're not. Lori? 49-year-old Dennis was in the process of buying out his business partner, and was seeking $1.25 million business loan. The bank's requirement, this is like I mentioned earlier, the bank's requirement of life insurance had not yet been satisfied. The lender had a short closing window. The dentist was in underwriting for traditional term, but the carrier was seeking additional medical records during the underwriting process, and the insurance would not likely be approved for at least several weeks. Peterson International was able to provide the required $1.25 million of coverage only after 3 days in underwriting. The loan closed. The client was able to cancel his Peterson policy once the traditional policy was approved, probably, but 1 or 2 months later, right? So, sorry, Bill, I know you guys do a lot of great jobs in underwriting, but it's still difficult to get stuff like this approved otherwise. Using some examples. Lori, you want next page? 39-year-old business owner. Hopefully this jogs some thought process with everybody out there. 39-year-old business owner and a machinist needed life insurance to satisfy letter requirements on a promissory note. Due to his health history of past opioid addiction, this is so common today, and currently taking Suboxone, he could not obtain coverage domestically. Peterson offered $2.75 million of contract protection insurance, which is FTS, to cover his loan requirements. So again, Peterson Lloyd's to the rescue. Lori? Lori, I'm gonna hit the pause button, and I'm gonna turn this over to you if you want to handle it.
Thank you, Keith. Great job. This slide is really just showing some of the really, more technical things that we can do kind of case by case. And we had this group come to us. They wanted accidental death and dismemberment coverage, and they also wanted accidental disability. And we were able to provide that. There were 21 executives working in Israel, very close to the Gaza border, running logistics, working for a contractor project. I always want to ask more questions about this stuff, but of course you can't. But they needed coverage just for 35 days while they were over there. And we were able to secure $1 million of accidental death and lump sum accident disability with a permanent total disability definition on 3 of the top executives, and then $250,000 of coverage for the 18 lower level executives. And we can, again, create, we have a lot of flexibility to create the type of policy that is needed by the client. So accidental death, we see requests for this quite a bit for a lot of different reasons, but one of these, we're seeing a lot of people going over to war-torn countries right now. In fact, this drone company was located in the United States and was going over to Ukraine to train their drone pilots, and they needed coverage for just 9 days in the event of a death. And we were able to secure $1 million of coverage for each person. And that was another great opportunity for us to help these clients. One of our, I would say, most active products, I feel it's one of the most important products for anybody during their working years, is individual DI. We offer the same type of products that you find in the domestic market. We never compete with domestic carriers. We feel it's important to utilize them first and then come to us for different reasons, which I'll go over. But we're offering the same suite of products: income protection, key person coverage. We get a lot of requests in the private equity space. A lot of requests in the physician space for key person coverage, business loan protection, exactly what Keith went over earlier, but this covers in the event of a disability, buy-sell coverage, and overhead expense. So when would you, reach out to us, or when would Bill reach out to us for you? If you have someone with a very high income and they're capping the domestic coverage, then you can come to us for an additional layer of coverage on top. If you have someone that was medically declined by the domestic carrier, you can come to us. We see a lot of people that can't get coverage domestically. I had a case yesterday. We had a resident, a physician resident, getting ready to graduate from his residency. He signed a pretty hefty contract to become a physician at one of the top hospitals in the country. The problem was he was a little too short and a little too wide. He was 5'9", 290 pounds, and we were able to get him coverage. So those are some examples. Also age restrictions. So if you have someone who is over age in the domestic market, we can usually cover them. They have to be working actively at work. It doesn't have to be full-time, it can be part-time. And we can cover people usually comfortably up to the age of 75, depending on the, again, underwriter's discretion. One of the things that we do quite a bit is cover unique occupations. And what would that be? First and foremost, pilots. So if you work with any pilots, they can be helicopter pilots, crop dusters, fixed wing pilots. We have a specialty product for that. We also have a specialty product for athletes and entertainers. We can cover longshoremen. Those are people working out on the pipelines, explosive handlers. One of the neat things we can do is we can cover expats and or foreign nationals living outside the US, or foreign nationals living in the US. They don't have to be United States citizens. They just have to have a nexus to the United States. What I'd like to kind of focus on, because everything else is pretty self-explanatory, but I want to show you some examples of high income, the high income need. We see this quite a bit in the market. And what is it? Most high income earners have group LTD and IDI plans already in place. And again, due to all the caps in their plans and taxability, there's usually room for more coverage. Our goal is to get everybody to at least 60% income replacement. We can go higher than that, but our goal again is 60%. Lloyd's of London is the only place that a high income earner can go once they exhaust all of their domestic coverages. So again, you can come to us for that third layer of coverage. If they cannot get individual DI because of medical reasons, maybe they're a pilot, you can come to us on top of the group LTD or at $1. So what does that look like? So it's, again, group LTD, it's the base amount of coverage. It usually covers people to 60% to a cap of $5,000 a month, or maybe $10,000 a month. Then layered on top of that is the domestic individual DI, and Lloyd's as a high limit DI plan on top of all that to get them to at least 60% replacement. And what does that look like? An executive earning $900,000 in annual income. This is an actual case where he had group LTD of $10,000 per month. And that covered him up to 13%. So if he became disabled, he would get 13% of their income. He had individual DI layered on top at $17,000 per month, and that brought him to 36% replacement. And I don't know about you, but I can't live off of 36% of my income. Lloyd's came in and offered $21,750 additional coverage on top of all that, again, to get them to 65% replacement. So he, in the event of a disability, will receive $48,750 per month, which is getting him closer to that $75,000. We do offer coverage to employers. So if you're working with employer groups, we use the law of large numbers, and in that case, we will throw out all of underwriting, medical, and we will underwrite financially with a census. And this is a case that we underwrote where the group LTD covered the group up to $200,000. They laid individual DI on top, which covered up to $400,000 in earnings. And so it left a huge gap to all these people that are the high income earners. In most companies, the high income earners are the key people, the most important people, which in this case would be the CFO, the CEO, most of the C-suite, again, most of the really important key people. Our advantages of guaranteed standard issue, it helps shrink the gaps, like I talked about. In order to quote guaranteed standard issue, we need 3 lives for a mandatory plan, 10 lives for a voluntary plan. It covers bonus, incentive compensation, not just salary, which is usually what group LTD covers. Again, there's no medical underwriting. We just need a census. We discount the rates. Our policies are portable during the term period, and we support you 100% during the enrollment. You can help us or you can step away. It's really up to you. And these cases grow over time because we do add new hires, and also as incomes increase, we add more coverage on top. For business coverages, again, we're offering, what you see in the domestic market, and to save time, I'm not going to go over each one, but we do have everything that you would need to cover folks. And this is an example of, it's a case study, a 49-year-old dentist. He owned his own large dental practice with a pretty high income of $1.5 million. He had group LTD, he had individual DI, but due to his high income, we offered an additional $50,000 a month of benefit. And we were able to use the labs for the domestic policy because they were less than 6 months old. Again, we can cover those foreign nationals working and living in the United States or outside the United States, working for a US-based company, US citizens working outside the United States. So you have access to, those multinational companies. This is an example of a law firm where we offer guaranteed standard issue to 40 of the partners in the international market. There were 9 international offices all over the world. So we first covered the folks, the equity partners in the United States, and then they came to us for coverage for their folks outside the country. Business overhead, we see this quite a bit. An orthopedic clinic couldn't obtain domestic coverage simply because they had too many physician partners in their practice. They had 39 partners, and so we were able to offer them individual DI. We offered $35,000 a month per partner. And again, they couldn't get coverage domestically. So that is it. We have about 7 more minutes. Bill, if you want to take it over.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say thank you to you and Keith. You did a fantastic job. We did have questions come in, and we answered most of them. But I think the bottom line is, if it's a more complex situation, business, position, etc., I think it's best we have our marketers have all of the questionnaires, and we have access to their home office. So I think that's probably the best way to go. And then what I'd like to do is we're going to send out a thank you email to all the attendees. And Lori and Keith, if you can, well, send me any information that we discussed today, and then we'll also we'll attach that to our thank you email and all the brochures that we have, just so the agents have enough to be dangerous. I think that's important. Okay, what I'd like to do now, I have a couple slides left, and then we'll do our giveaway right before 3 p.m. So again, Lori and Keith, thank you, and we'll be in touch. And let's jump into the first slides here. So to get started, and I know we went around a little bit and we spoke about who to call for what. And number one, we have to make sure you're appointed. If we can mute the background noise, that would be great. Okay, so as soon as you call in, let's say you have a case, right? I saw a few questions come in about celebrities. There was a world famous ballerina. The best way to do that is speak to our marketers, and then if it's a possibility, right? It could be a good fit. The best way to handle it is we'll fill out the questionnaire, and then if we come back with an offer, which typically it's about 24 hours, I would get appointed immediately. And then once you're appointed with us, with Peterson, then you have full access to the home office. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. If you have a nice opportunity, nice case, right, we'll run it by underwriting. And if they say, hey, based on this and this, yes, it's a go, then I would immediately get appointed and get your writing number, and then we'll go from there. The great news is we have direct access to Peterson Lloyd. So there's not, 7 layers in between. So the service, the commissions typically are going to be much higher than being under, a GA who's under an MGA. You know how that goes. So that's another big plus. Also, what's neat too is with their products every year, right? If it's an ART type policy, every year the policy renews, you're going to get a letter, right? And if that consumer or business owner wants to renew, you get another commission all over again. And that can happen, depending on the product for 3, 4, 5 years. So it's a nice renewal stream for you. The Disability Resource Center, this is on our website. If you want to, let's go to the next slide. If you want to follow those yellow arrows and you want more information on Lloyd's, the questionnaires, the products, everything that's available, that is our Lloyd's folder, right? If you look at the bottom yellow arrow. So I would click on that, check it out when you can. Also, like I said, we're going to include everything in the thank you email we'll send out tonight. So that will be like your one-stop shop for all of the Lloyd's products that we have access to. Okay, let's keep moving forward. This was a case study, a real case that came in that happened to be a huge opportunity for the agency and also Peterson Lloyd's. Well, obviously, they were very happy as well. So as you know, there's in college sports, there was this NIL change, name, image, likeness rights, which basically means the college player can get an income, right, or a bonus or incentive. So this is interesting. Let's go to the first bullet here. So this specific university, and obviously I'm not going to get into too many details, they wanted coverage to protect their investment, right, with their football program. And that's what they're known for. So the solution was the Lloyd's underwriting team came up with an offer for accidental death plans with an accidental DI rider plus return of premium and standalone accident expense plans to the entire football team, which were 100% guaranteed issue. So that's a big deal. And you can imagine the total premium, the commissions, and imagine how happy this organization was with that agent that handled the case. So, and then obviously referrals, and then you get a chance to build relationships with these college ball players that may go into the pros, and you know what happens after that. But I guess the main point that I want to shed some light on is once you, and again, you don't have to be a professional in every corner and every product they offer, but know enough to be dangerous and start to spread the word that, hey, you could be the guy or girl that handles these niche strategies, right, or solutions for business owners, right, for an organization like what we're looking at in front of you. And it changes the game literally, Okay. It opens so many doors for you, and we're your back office support. So, you need something from the underwriter. We need an offer. We need what is the premium for this much DI? We'll get it for you. Okay. You're just on the front line handling the consumer, but we're doing the back office work for you. Okay. And we know who to get involved and who to speak to about anything that you have questions on. Okay. Let's keep moving forward. So that specific product, okay, which it was a group platform, and then also the travel accident expense, which is from outside of the U.S. into the U.S. foreign nationals, and for people in the U.S. traveling outside. We're going to have these products on Insure Me Now Direct. So again, direct to consumer, you email a link, or they literally go on your website and you're off to the races. And it's that simple. Let's keep moving forward. What I want to do next is talk about a few sample social media posts. This is awesome. And here's why I say it's so awesome. Number one, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? If you go on, and I say this every week, Facebook or Instagram, and just put in, disability insurance, put, overseas insurance solutions, foreign national insurance, right? And you'll see top performing or recent posts pop up in front of you, right? And I always put top performing. And then these are 3 examples. And look at the likes and comments that came in, right? That's over 700 likes, over 100 comments. And each comment potentially is a lead, right? If you reach out by DM to say, hey, Johnny, Shelley, I saw you had a question about disability insurance. How can I help you? Okay. And then the rest is history. But I think what's most important is this isn't rocket science. I mean, this is so simple to put together. Change a few spokes. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? And these are just simple samples that you can use today, okay, to get the word out. And if you get 4 people that liked it, great. That's 4 new potential clients or free leads. Okay, so you know how it goes. Let's keep moving. The Bill Levinson Experience podcast. I love this episode 56. That was with Grant, who's a younger general agent who's doing a phenomenal job, and he's killing it with the orphan leads. So anyway, he's got a great story to tell. I want you to listen to that one. It's an hour long, all complimentary. All of our trainings are left-hand side. These were the most streamed episodes on my podcast. Check out the latest and greatest. That's all going to be in the thank you email. Okay, and then on my second to last slide, and then we'll put a bow on this, upcoming training events, which is what you're on right now. So real fast, 2025 Allianz IUL relaunch is on the 3rd. And then, of course, the Levinson Expo is on the 11th. If you go down to the bottom in blue, which obviously should be at the very top, that is the April 11th Friday Expo. I hope you're already RSVP'd. We spoke about it earlier. But like I said, if not, we have our Expo recap webinar on the 18th. Just under that is LSW. We have the first official living benefits certified course with our Life of the Southwest Master Class speaker when it comes to living benefits. So don't miss that one. And then another great class just focused on IUL, our master class, another first ever on May 1st. And then under that is our first Gillico launch webinar. We're going to be featuring their latest and greatest annuities on the 8th. Okay, my last slide and my question of the day. Make sure your little fingers are on the keyboard because you got to be first and you got to be correct. So I hope you were paying attention. My Positive Tuesday quote, which is what you should be also doing, right? Call it Long-Term Care Friday, DI Tuesday, whatever you want, but you got to put something out there consistently, right? Consistent and persistent is the name of the game when it comes to marketing and branding. This is my way that I do it for my agents, right? You don't have to listen to what we say, watch what we do. Proof is in the pudding. Integrity. It's who you are when no one is watching. Simple, straight to the point. Let's move over to the right-hand side. My question of the day. You got to be quick. I mentioned the March Madness sale incentive. The question is, to win the 3rd bracket, $300 and 10 free orphan leads, what's the minimum number of apps needed that you need to write in place to get the $300 and 10 orphan leads? It's the minimum number of apps you need to write in place. You tell me you're correct, you win. Apple iWatch prospecting book. JC is going to tell us who was first and who was correct.
Nicole T.
Nicole P. Congrats. The answer was five minimum number of apps you need to write in place, $300 cash, batch of 10 orphan leads. And you never know, because one of those orphans could wind up being $40,000, $50,000, $70,000. Or in Grant's case, it was $100,000. So let's have a great rest of your Thursday. Great selling. We'll see you live face-to-face at the April 11th annual Agent Levinson Expo. Thanks again, everyone.